welcome back to our Algebra 1 practice semester exam. So if you didn't see the previous video where I had problems 1 through 6, I'll put the link there in the description so that you can go back and get those. We are definitely working through example problems so that when you take your semester exam, you've got your practice exam sitting here and you're working the problems from the test. When you work problem number 7, I want you coming back to the review here for problem number 7 so that you have a resource to help you remember, like, what did we do? How did we do that? Also, the extra credit involved. So make sure you're showing all your steps and explanations so that you can get your extra credit for doing the practice exam. So let's go ahead and get started. This video is going to take us through problems 7 through 12. I'll link the remaining videos in the description as well so that you'll have access to all of them. So for problem number 7, we are being asked to graph this inequality. I want to remind us of the form y equals mx plus b, because it was going to help us to be able to graph this. Remember that b is our starting point on the y-axis, and so that point is 3 here. I'm going up on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3. And then the m tells me the slope, which in this case is -2. I want you to think of that as -2/1. So from your point on the y-axis, you're going down 2. I'm going down because it is negative. And then I'm going right 1. Do it again from that point, down 2, right 1. One more time, down 2, right 1. Now I'm going to use my straight edge, which if you've seen any of my videos, you know is my handy dandy Sonic gift card. And I'm going to connect these points with a solid line. I'm doing a solid line because of that equal to underneath that inequality. So I'm going to draw myself a solid line. And then because it's an inequality, I've got to do some shading. So it is less than. So I want you to go to the y-intercept and we're going to shade less than, which would be below. I'm going to grab me a highlighter here. Feel free to use your pencil. If you have colored pencils, I kind of like highlighters. So I'm going to add this portion. And that is my solution for this problem. All right, we're going to do the same thing for number 8, but we're going to go in reverse. This time we have the shadings and we want to write inequalities for them. So we're still going to play on that y equals mx plus b form. Let's do this solid line here first. And I'm pointing out the y-intercept is at -2. So I know that b is a -2. And then count your slope from here. You're going up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. So I put that in place of my m. And then notice that we shaded above the y-intercept. So that's a greater than, and it's a solid line, so it's an equal to. So this inequality is a y is greater than or equal to 1x minus 2. And by the way, you don't have to write the 1 unless you just want to, which is totally fine as well. Okay, let's do that dashed line then. So I'm going to point out the y-intercept is at 1, 2, 3. So I've got y, I've got a plus 3. Now let's do our slope. We're going down to 1, 2, and we're running 1. So down 2 means -2, and right 1 is a positive 1. And then notice your y-intercept, we shaded below it, so that's a less than. And it's a dashed line, so there's no equal to. So this one would be y is less than -2x plus 3.
All right, let's take a look at this problem. For a financial planner wants to invest a total of $8,000. Some of the stocks earning 15%, others earning 6%. How much should be invested to get a return of $930? So we're going to have two investments here. Our first equation is going to deal with the amount invested. So I'm going to let the first investment be A, The second investment be B, and we know that we want them to equal $8,000. Now, the second investment, I want to deal with the amount that it earns. So we're going to let this first investment earn 15% as it told us here. And the second investment is going to earn 6%. Notice that I use 0.06 for 6%, and we know then that that equals $930. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like to use the decimals. So I'm going to, in this second equation, go ahead and move the decimals 2 places to the left. So for this first one, I'm going to get 15A. For the second one, I'm going to move it 2 places and get 6B. And then for 930, I'm going to add 2 zeros onto the end of that. So basically what I did was I multiplied by 100 here in this second equation. Now, in the first equation, because I want to use elimination, I'm going to eliminate the b's. Notice that this b has a 6 in front of it. So I'm going to multiply our first equation by -6. That'll give me -6a plus -6b equals -48,000. Now, when I add these two equations together with the elimination, you can see that -6a plus 15a gives me 9a. The 6b's go away, and that equals 45,000. Now you can simply divide both sides by 9, and you'll see that the first investment was $5,000. So $5,000 is going to be invested at the 15%. And the remaining amount, because remember we invested a total of 8,000, the remaining amount, which would be 3,000, would be invested at 6%. So I hope this helps with this problem of systems of equations.
The amount of bacteria in a sample doubles every 12 hours if the sample initially contains 30 bacteria cells. How many is in the sample after 72 hours? Great problem here. So we want to use the formula N equals N small 0 1/2 T over H. Now, the N with the little 0 tells us the initial number of bacteria. So in this case, that's 30. Okay, now the T is your time in hours. That's 72. And the H is what we call half-life. So that is, forgive me, we're not doing half-life, we're doing doubling. So let's not make that a half, let's make that a double. All right. And then how long did it take us to double? That's our 12. Okay. So when I'm doubling, I use a 2 in there. If I were cutting in half, I'd use a half there. If I were tripling, I would use a triple in there. So let's go to our Desmos calculator now. I'm going to switch our view so you can see that. Still working in that same graphing calculator. By the way, I'll link it below in the description so you can use it. And I'm going to type this in, friends. I've got 30 parentheses 2 close parentheses. Now I want you to use the caret. That's shift 6. Get in the exponent, and you're going to have to put a parentheses around this exponent so that you can do the division for it. And friends, notice what Desmos did for us. It found that value is 1,920, and that's bacteria. So just a reminder, once you can set it up with that formula, use that Desmos calculator to help you with the calculations there.
Let's take a look at which problem will be bigger. We have two numbers here in scientific notation, and we notice that the exponents are a little different. So I want you to remember with a negative exponent, that means that we're going to move our decimal to the left that many places. So for this first one, I'm going to move my decimal 7 places to the left. So I've moved it 1, and now I'm going to have to add 6 more zeros before I place my decimal. There it is. Let's do the same for the second number. I'm going to move my decimal 6 places to the left, and now I've got to put in 5 more zeros before I put my decimal. So which one is bigger? Well, it's going to be the one that has the number closest to the decimal place. And so in that case, this is going to be B is going to be our bigger number here. But I want you to think about writing it out in what we would call standard form instead of scientific notation so that you'll be able to see which one is actually bigger.